if your loud, overbearing neighbor had never existed? For once, your source of misery and depression are finally gone. Just you, the clarinet, and peace. You're living the life you've always wanted. Isn't that beautiful? Squidward wakes up in the morning. It's quiet, no interruption, no chaos, just some birds chirping in the distance. Bikini Bottom seems brighter this way. Job at the Krusty Krab still sucks, but it's bearable, because at least nobody pesters you at work. Squidward finally gets the time to focus, to create, to be the artist he always thought he could be. For the first time in who knows how long, Squidward is completely alone. No SpongeBob and his weird antics. No one follows him around anytime. But somehow it feels off. He starts talking to himself, practicing insults that no one hears, arguing with paintings, yelling at the air. Why? Because in this world, SpongeBob never moved in next door, never worked at the Krusty Krab, and never ruined a single moment of Squidward's day. Every second Squidward remembers this was supposed to be the perfect life. Because if SpongeBob was truly the one ruining Squidward's life, then taking him out of the picture should fix everything, right? But before we dive deeper, we need to quickly understand one thing. Who is Squidward Q Tentacles, really? On the surface, Squidward is a pretty simple guy. He's grumpy, he hates his job, hates his neighbors, sometimes plays the clarinet in his free time, badly. Squidward thinks he's a genius, like artistic genius, but no one really cares. But peel back the sarcasm and you will find a man full of resentment. A guy who once had ambition to be a respected artist, a musician, a someone. Instead, he's stuck at a dead-end job, paid in pennies, surrounded by people he can't stand, and worst of all, he suffers from it. He blames SpongeBob and everyone else for it. But is any of that true? There has to be a big reason why Squidward never leaves, never risks, never climbs out of the life he hates. And this is what makes the question so interesting. In the episode The Original Fry Cook, we see this even more clearly. When Jim, the legendary former fry cook, comes back, Squidward is shaken. Not because Jim is back, but because Jim actually left. Jim made it out. Jim became something, and Squidward stayed behind, still stuck behind that cash register. That moment isn't about jealousy. It's about regret. Deep, bitter regret. The kind that eats at you year after year. And that's the version of Squidward we meet in episode 1. Not a monster, not a villain, just a guy who thought he would be more by now and has no idea how to fix it. Squidward represents something a lot of people feel, the slow burn of settling. Realizing life didn't turn out the way you'd hoped and starting to wonder, what did I do wrong? But since the very beginning of this show, we have seen SpongeBob as the one who is always making problems for Squidward, ruining Squidward's life every single day. It sounds dramatic, but think about it. From day one, SpongeBob is in Squidward's face. He's pestering Squidward on a daily basis. At work, at home, at the grocery store, he is the annoying neighbor and coworker. And what if that's not just annoying? What if it's also destructive? Most people would think that SpongeBob is the cause of Squidward's depression and failure, not just by being loud or annoying, but by breaking down Squidward's mental state over time. Squidward can't focus on his art, can't find peace on his day off, he can't even do his hobby without troubles. Every attempt at happiness is hijacked by SpongeBob's well-meaning chaos. Even if Squidward tries to quit his job or move away, something will always drag him back, and usually SpongeBob is right there in the middle of it. Some fans go even further, saying that Squidward is stuck in a loop that Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob, and even Bikini Bottom itself keep him trapped in. He quits his job, only to crawl back. He tries to follow his dreams, only to get laughed off stage. He looks for peace in his home, only to be met with chaos later. It's like the universe itself refuses to let Squidward win. But here's where it gets really dark. What if Mr. Krabs wants it that way? There's a theory that Mr. Krabs purposely exploits Squidward, because he knows Squidward is desperate enough to keep working for almost nothing. Krabs has hired other people over the years, like Patrick, Larry, even Karen, but no one else sticks. Why? Because they won't tolerate the abuse. But Squidward, for whatever reason, does. And if Krabs keeps Squidward stuck, unhappy, broke, and hopeless, then he'll never leave. He will never become something bigger. He will never do what Jim, the original fry cook, did, and escape. That's not just a funny cartoon pattern, that's emotional manipulation. That's control. And if all of that is true, then maybe SpongeBob isn't just annoying. Maybe he's part of the system holding Squidward down. Then again, if SpongeBob was really the one thing ruining his life, then taking him out of the picture should fix everything, right? Let's test it. Let's imagine a world where SpongeBob never moved onto Conch Street, never worked at the Krusty Krab, never knocked on Squidward's door asking him to go jellyfishing or blow bubbles or build snowmen in July. What would Squidward's life actually look like? As far as the show goes, we have seen 3 big possibilities for the outcome. The first one being, maybe Squidward will actually be successful. Without SpongeBob constantly interrupting him, maybe Squidward finally has the space to focus, doing what he always wanted, to become an artist. He pours himself into his art, practices his clarinet religiously, he can start applying to galleries, auditions, maybe even land a gig or 2. It's slow, but he starts to build a real career. He's not rich, but he's respected, maybe even fulfilled. In the episode The Algae is Always Greener, we catch a glimpse of an alternate reality where Squidward works for Plankton. This version of Squidward appears more content and successful, suggesting that different circumstances could lead to a happier existence for him. Without SpongeBob's antics, Squidward might have found a more satisfying career path. Sounds nice, right? The second possibility is that Squidward becomes even more miserable. Without SpongeBob in his life, Squidward becomes lonelier than ever. The thing about Squidward is that we often see him always demanding to be left alone. He doesn't want anybody to enter his personal bubble. But ironically, we've seen him go into a spiral every time he's left alone. In the episode Squidville, Squidward finally moves out from Conch Street, leaving SpongeBob and Patrick. It doesn't take long before he gets fed up with the mediocrity of regular people's lives. He soon hallucinates SpongeBob antics and starts copying them. He even thinks that it's actually fun to do stupid stuff like that sometimes. That episode is an eye-opening experience. It suggests that Squidward doesn't just hate chaos itself, he needs it to feel something. Maybe deep down in his heart, he knew that he enjoyed crazy stuff, but his ego was too high to even simply admit it. Want a more extreme example? Take a look at the episode SB-129. In that episode, Squidward ends up in a dimension where he's totally alone. No SpongeBob, no Patrick, just nothing. At first, he loved it. Total silence, no noise, no chaos. But then it hits him. The silence isn't peace, it's isolation. He starts losing it, talking to himself, screaming into the void. It's honestly one of the trippiest things the show has ever done. It suggests that even if Squidward thinks he wants to be alone, he actually doesn't. Squidward wants to be embraced by the others around him. But more often than not, he always pushes everyone that tries to enter his bubble, leaving him to be lonely again and again. The last and most convincing possibility, in my opinion, is that even if Squidward never met SpongeBob in his life, nothing would change. SpongeBob is not Squidward's problem. Squidward is Squidward's problem. Even in episodes where SpongeBob is gone or out of the picture, Squidward doesn't magically become happier. He still hates his job, still complains, he still sabotages his own chances at success. He blames SpongeBob because it's easy, but take SpongeBob away and he will have to face himself. It's easy to think SpongeBob is the main problem. Loud, overbearing, constantly popping up at the worst times. But maybe that's just surface-level noise. The sad truth is, SpongeBob might be exactly what Squidward needs, because he reflects everything Squidward isn't anymore. SpongeBob is joy, passion, optimism, drive. He is what Squidward used to have, or at least wanted to have. The worst part isn't that SpongeBob is annoying, it's that he's happy for no reason, and that drives Squidward crazy. SpongeBob gets excited about things Squidward finds ridiculous, like jellyfishing, blowing bubbles, even going to work. To Squidward, this looks childish. But that joy is something Squidward misses more than he admits. SpongeBob also represents effort. He tries, he fails, he tries again. That's the part Squidward hates the most, because he stopped trying a long time ago. Watching SpongeBob push through everything with a smile is like holding a mirror up to Squidward's own apathy. It's uncomfortable, sure, but it keeps you from being totally lost. But here's the thing, SpongeBob never gives up on Squidward. No matter how cold or dismissive he gets, SpongeBob just keeps trying to include him, laughing with him. That is someone seeing value in you even when you don't. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So we've talked about the theories. SpongeBob is the reason Squidward's life fell apart, Mr. Krabs is exploiting him, Bikini Bottom itself is rigged against him. But let's take a breath and actually ask, does any of that make sense? Let's start with SpongeBob. Has SpongeBob's constant presence destroyed Squidward's chance at happiness? Sure, SpongeBob is loud. he's chaotic, he's always around. But when you really break it down, does Squidward ever improve when SpongeBob isn't there? Take a look at episodes like Squid's Day Off, where SpongeBob is mostly out of the picture. Squidward spirals anyway. He overthinks, he panics, he literally hallucinates SpongeBob. So no, SpongeBob's not the core problem. He's a trigger, maybe, but not the cause. What about the idea that Mr. Krabs is actively keeping Squidward stuck? That one, honestly, has legs. It's true that Squidward has worked at the Krusty Krab longer than anyone else. In the episode The Original Fry Cook, we find out he's been there long before SpongeBob, before Jim, maybe even since the place opened. He's never gotten a raise, he gets paid pennies. It's a sad life for sure. The thing is, Krabs isn't the only one at fault here. Squidward is also at fault for letting Krabs take advantage of him. Sometimes he even admitted it clearly. But the episode that really blows my mind is Goodbye Krabby Patty. Squidward says something that hits hard to me. Squidward says 17 years as a cashier isn't enough to qualify for anything else.
Apparently you need more than 17 years behind a cash register to be qualified for dreams.
That's a brutal line. It shows how much he believes he's worthless, like his experience doesn't mean anything. It's almost as if Squidward himself believes that even if he wanted to, he can't get another job. He's just stuck there forever. But over the years of this show, we've seen him try to leave Krusty Krab. Not just once. In Can You Spare a Dime, he quits and ends up homeless.
Spare change, ma'am?
And in Chum Caverns, he works for Plankton. Still gets treated like trash. And every time he comes crawling back to Krusty Krab, begging for the job he always hated, not because he wants to, because he has to. Krabs doesn't even have to beg him to come back. He knows Squidward will crawl back. But here's another thought. If Squidward was actually a bright and diligent guy like SpongeBob, would life be easier for him? Because let's be honest, Squidward isn't just a bitter guy in a vacuum. He's a bitter guy in a town that doesn't respect him, and maybe never did. Bikini Bottom is full of loud, eccentric characters, but the one thing they all seem to agree on is they don't like Squidward. Even when he's doing something positive, performing, competing, he gets booed, laughed at, or ignored. Meanwhile, SpongeBob can do the exact same thing, and the town loves it. In Slimy Dancing, Squidward gets mocked for his choreography, while SpongeBob gets cheered for doing nearly the same moves. In Squidward, even after trying to perform, Squidward still gets heckled by everyone. They would rather cheer for a doll of Squidward to be precise. People hate him not for anything he did, but simply because he's Squidward. This isn't about talent, it's about perception. Bikini Bottom doesn't judge based on skill, it judges based on likability. And Squidward, with all his sarcasm and bitterness, just isn't likable. So no matter how hard he works or how skilled he is, the town shrugs, or worse, they laugh. Now, imagine living in that town every day. You try to do things right, you have hobbies, passions, and ambitions, but none of that matters because people have already written you off. That's what Squidward's dealing with, and it's not just frustrating, it's soul-crushing. It's the same reason people in real life burn out. When you're in an environment that only uplifts the bubbly, the loud, the easy-to-digest personalities, the quiet gets lost, or worse, punished for not being palatable enough. So what does all this mean? The fan theories aren't completely right, but they're not wrong either. SpongeBob isn't the villain, he's just the trigger. Krabs is definitely taking advantage, and Bikini Bottom? It's not made for someone like Squidward. But in the end, Squidward's biggest problem is Squidward. Because even if you removed SpongeBob, fired Mr. Krabs, and gave him a new audience, nothing would change. If you really watch the show closely, Squidward isn't just annoyed, he's tired, numb, frustrated, isolated. That's not just cartoon comedy, that's burnout, possibly depression. That's someone who feels like their life has passed them by. He hates his job but doesn't leave. He has dreams but doesn't chase them. He blames everyone else, but deep down he knows that's not the whole story. That's the internal war a lot of people fight every day, and that's why so many older fans suddenly relate to Squidward when they rewatch the show. He's a painfully accurate metaphor for mental health struggles, especially the quiet, slow kind that creeps up over time. And that hits hard, because when you're in a dark place, joy doesn't feel inspiring. It feels alienating, like a reminder of what you've lost. That's why SpongeBob is so triggering for him. Not because he's annoying, but because he's functioning. He has energy, hope, goals, everything Squidward used to have before the bitterness took over. But the real tragedy? Squidward knows he's not okay. He just doesn't know how to fix it. And that's what makes his character so relatable, because real life doesn't always offer an easy solution either. Some people need therapy, some need a new job, some need time, help, or just someone to listen. Squidward, he needs a break. A real one. Not a vacation, not an episode off, a break from the loop he's trapped in, and maybe someone who sees his pain and doesn't laugh it off. And if I'm being honest with you, I wouldn't know what to do either if I was in Squidward's shoes. Let me put it this way. What if Squidward was the main character of the show? Imagine SpongeBob SquarePants told through his eyes, not as a joyful comedy, but as a low-key tragedy. A story about a guy who had big dreams, got stuck in a small life, and has to navigate the crushing weight of watching everyone around him thrive while he stays invisible. It wouldn't be slapstick comedy, it would be dry, dark, ironic. A painfully funny portrait of artistic failure, retail despair, and the quiet horror of waking up to the same dead-end job every day while your neighbor yells, "I'm ready!" at 6 a.m. And the most heartbreaking part? You'd root for him. If the show was framed from Squidward's perspective, his inner monologue, his disappointments, his tiny victories, we'd see the cracks in real time. Every moment SpongeBob bursts through the door wouldn't be funny, it would be another hit to a man barely holding it together. Even episodes like Band Geeks would feel like redemption arcs, not punchlines. And Bikini Bottom, it wouldn't be a quirky underwater town. It'd be the backdrop of Squidward's slow collapse. A town that laughs at his pain, ignores his effort, and claps for people doing half as much with twice the love. Honestly, it would still be a great show, just not one for kids. So, maybe the only reason we don't see Squidward as the protagonist is because we're used to shows focusing on people who win, people who smile, people who bounce back. But Squidward's story, that's for the person who feels stuck, who doesn't have it all figured out, who isn't the chosen one or the favorite or even the funny sidekick. That's why it hits so close to home, because we all know what it feels like to be the background character in our own story, hoping one day someone notices. So what if Squidward had never met SpongeBob? Would his life have been better, worse, or exactly the same? And after breaking it all down, only the bitter truth remains. Maybe he would have had more peace, maybe less chaos, maybe even a little more progress on his art or music. But that doesn't mean he would have been happy, because SpongeBob didn't really do anything to Squidward's life, he just exposed it. Squidward was already miserable, already insecure and stuck way before he met SpongeBob at Conch Street. He's not Squidward's problem, he's Squidward's mirror. And sometimes those people we think are ruining our lives, they're actually the only ones paying attention. And that's why I don't think Squidward ever truly wanted him gone. Because if SpongeBob disappeared, Squidward would finally have to look at his life and realize the only thing stopping him was himself. And yeah, it's a little heavy for a cartoon about sea creatures, but maybe that's what makes SpongeBob SquarePants so good. It gives us characters that seem simple, but they reflect real things. Fear of failure, regret, the pain of being overlooked, and the weird comfort of blaming someone else for your own limits. And that's exactly what SpongeBob really gave Squidward. Someone to keep him from totally slipping into that void. Someone to annoy him, interrupt him, drag him out of his own head. Someone who, in the weirdest, loudest, most SpongeBob way possible, cared. Because at the end of the day, Squidward isn't trapped by SpongeBob. He's trapped by himself. The damage was done, and Squidward had to live with it. Speaking about damage, have you ever wondered, this show has quite a lot of destruction for jokes. How many losses have Bikini Bottom suffered over the years? And that's exactly what we're about to do next time. How much does Patrick cost Bikini Bottom? See you there, kids!